elective Congress. And this is our media update with the Secretary General. Good afternoon and welcome to our special edition of Congress.
Thank you, Patrick.
Since yesterday's conversation, I think you set the kind of foundation of what's been happening here. But we know the doors are closed, no cell phones are allowed, no laptops are allowed. So tell us what's been happening behind these closed doors.
Yeah, behind those closed doors, a lot of work was taking place. Right now, we are approaching the end of the discussion of all the documents we were to discuss. First, the report of the Central Committee to the Congress, which mentioned all the things that happened in between. Then, the report of the second SWAPO Party Policy Conference. We have approved that. And then, all the resolutions, 16 main resolutions from the 5th Congress of the SWAPO Party. Okay. Then they have been discussed and approved. Now we are having a general discussion of anything. We have discussed agriculture, we have discussed water, energy, we have discussed education, health. All those issues were included in the resolution of the past Congress. But I'm happy to indicate to you that a resolution was taken by the Central Committee. It was presented right now, maybe 10 or 15 minutes ago, to the Congress, and the Congress has endorsed the following: that the following members of our leadership, having contributed enormously to the work of the party, and with the aim of keeping them still active and advising and providing the historical background of our party, will become permanent members of the following structures. The first four are already members of the political bureau, and therefore they are also members of the Central Committee, and therefore they have access to the Congress. Is Dr. Nikki Yambo, our Vice President, Dr. Libertine Amadila, our former Deputy Prime Minister, Dr. Theoben Gurirab, our former Prime Minister and Speaker, Honorable Comrade Ben Amadila, former minister. So they will remain the permanent members. They can attend political bureau meetings, but they don't have to stand now and be voted for. Okay. And the next one are three of them. Dr. Ngarikutuke Chiriange, former Secretary General. Comrade Kanana Hishono, former Secretary of the SWAPO Party Elders Council. And Comrade Vinia Helao Vinia Ndadi, or Vinia Helao Ndadi, founding member of the SWAPO Party, and he used to work in Dar es Salaam for the Voice of Namibia, and a real old veteran. Those will be, the three will be members of the Central Committee. They will attend Central Committee meetings, but not the political bureau meeting, because right now they are not in those structures and can attend Congress and any other meetings of the party. This time around, because they are all delegates to the Congress, they will have the right to vote for others, but they are not standing themselves. In the future, however, those who have permanent status and their role is to advise, we don't want them to be voted for, nor have the power to vote.
Okay. But what precedence does this sit in terms of a permanent status when the nature of politics is to be elected and not to be appointed or selected? So how are you, in terms of promoting democracy, ensuring that...
No, the democracy, for example, the number of political bureau members remain the same. They come in an advisory capacity. The number of the Central Committee members remain the same. And they are clearing some of the places for younger people. So the democracy remains, but also the recognition of history is there for everybody to see, so that we don't lose our roots.
But would this, for instance, in your older days, would this become an expectation for somebody in terms of qualifying criteria to become a permanent status? What would be those conditions and in terms of the precedents that it's setting?
Well, it is setting a good precedence that for those people who have been with the party for a long, long time and have contributed enormously, they might be considered. But it is not automatic, simply because you have been a minister, or simply because you have been a regional coordinator, simply because you have been a secretary for the Elders Council or the Women's Council. No, it must be weighed on merit, and you have to be voted for.
Okay, so what are those qualifying criteria, like you're saying?
No, for example, we said these people are already members of the political bureau, and they have been members of the political bureau for a long time. The other one is we have a former secretary general of the SWAPO party, who is now out of the structures. But there are things that happened during his time. When we want to retrieve them, how do we approach him? We want to bring him near so that when we need those facts, those figures, to know those events, we have access to him because he's a part of the system.
Okay. Let's move on to the 16 resolutions that were made at the 5th Congress. Obviously, some of them are more high stakes than others. If we look at the list, there's things like permanent membership, unemployment and poverty, economic growth and income distribution. But let's talk about the ones that you don't do so well in, which obviously is the land acquisition and distribution. What's the party's position on that?
Yeah, we remember, that's a perfect good question. Remember, we said, let the government prepare itself very well. Let everybody who has a stake on the land issue create their own documents, do all the necessary preparations, and we are going to have a policy conference, hopefully next year. So there is nothing to be debated. Let us debate them when we are fully prepared. The date will be set, the month and the venue, and we can now present our options and policy preferences to the specifically the second national land conference in Namibia.
Okay. But you make some admissions in that report where you talk about a target of about 5 million that was set, and you've only reached 3.2 million hectares in terms of resettlement land for about 5,253 families at a cost of 1.7 billion. So can the land issue really be addressed given the costs that are entailed in ensuring that people have access to land?
Well, the land, we have to address it. It is a very difficult issue. Everybody knows that. It has many, many historic points that make us feel bad, that make us feel uncomfortable, but simply because it is uncomfortable or it was cruelly taken away from us, it does not mean we cannot tackle it. We have the capacity, we have the unity of purpose to do that, and we must do that in a formal land policy conference.
Okay. But given also the fact that there have been a lot of social movements around land, whether it's through the AR or through the landless people's movements, the 1991 land conference clearly states that there is no claims to ancestral land that will be entertained in Namibia. Is the party willing to entertain or go back and concede and look at those issues that people are contesting?
I don't have to set the policy of the SWAPO party or of the government on land issue at this party congress. That's why we have a special policy conference to be set in the future so that these matters are discussed and resolutions taken.
Okay, so let's look at another issue that was identified in the report that was related to the nomination and election of candidates to positions in the party structure. Has the SWAPO party become such a large ship that the steering of it is becoming problematic from an administrative perspective?
The administrative setup has many nodules, has many points, focal points. Number one is the national headquarters. Number two are the regional offices at the level of regional coordinators. Number three is the district relationship at the district level. And you go down to the branch and section level. The duties are very clear and distinct. Naturally, when you have more people, you are going to have more issues and you are going to have more problems, but you are also going to have more victories, if you like, more victories in terms of elections, more people in terms of your campaign. Those are good things. But it is true we have to clean up our system. We have to really make sure that our sections are properly organized, our branches consist of the number of sections that are stipulated in the Constitution, our districts are properly managed, and we have to separate the district leadership of the party and the constituency leadership in terms of government. A regional councillor cannot be at the same time the leader of the party. Once somebody is elected, he remains a government person, responsible for issues of everybody. He does not have to look at my membership card. He does not have to worry about whether my family belongs to this or that party. He does government work. But the party structure must be strengthened. And also, we want to make sure that at least, even at the branch level, there is a small reward for those who are actively helping the party.
You also spoke about civility under that administrative challenge. Address that point. What did you mean by that?
No, civility simply means we have to be kind to one another. Sometimes the things we say about one another are too much, too difficult. We call one another names, and yet I was talking in our official opening when I welcomed them, that we politicians, we may not get along with one another all the time. But when we get together, we don't want to go. We want to continue talking. That's why we're taking longer even now. We want to continue talking. It's a kind of symbiotic relationship. It can also be antagonistic relationship, but there is no better formula than talking, and talking hopefully will lead us to finding solutions to all our problems.
It seems like the principles of unity, inclusivity, and prosperity are really playing out here at the Congress. But tomorrow is obviously this day that's got all the high stakes engaged. And a lot of people find that, again, will it be divisive? Will it be in unity? Do you think that there is a fear of backlash in terms of, for instance, people losing government jobs if they're part of the party based on the election results tomorrow?
Let us first stick to the Congress issues. Jobs in the government is not a Congress matter.
But the fear of intimidation based on the voting, what's your
No,
comment on that?
there is no intimidation. We agree to wear only the approved attires of the party or our normal clothes, so that around here you can't campaign. You can't show who you favor, and we are shaking hands, all of us. We are talking to one another. And the president is allowing everyone from whatever background or section or whatever they may have said, they have the right to speak, to ask questions, to give comments, to give proposals. So that is what is important. And then when we are going to vote like under UNTAG. We are going to vote, follow the lines. If the central committees are called, we don't care which central committee is going to vote for this or that person. They go and vote. So are the regions, so are the wings. I think tomorrow there is not even a possibility or need to say that we belong to this or that group, we support or this or that candidate. Tomorrow it will be the final decision. The voter will speak. The delegates will select. Once they vote, there is nothing else you can do.
Okay. Let's talk a little about what I've noticed that has changed at Congress. Obviously, before, there was a loud, explicit chant, and we spoke about that a little bit yesterday, where it was very clearly Team Swapo and T Harambe, and that seems to have changed, where people are looking more at the individual merits of the candidates running.
I don't know what they are doing.
My question is...
I'm too busy right now to make sure that the proceedings are going on, the materials are provided, the booklets, whatever. So if there is a shift, if there is a change, if there is any adoption, that is still up to the individual delegates to make up their minds.
But the question is, do you feel like those terms still exist? Like there's still a strong identification towards either Team Harambe or towards a Team Swapo?
You are putting me in the position I don't want to be. I really, right now, I leave it to individual delegates to take their full rights as representative of the constituencies they represent, or the regions they represent, or the wings they represent, to vote according to their own conscience.
Okay. So given what you've discussed today, what has been the response of the delegates in terms of the 16 resolutions that were made? Has SWAPO succeeded largely the targets that they set for themselves 4 or 5 years ago? What's been the response from the delegates?
The delegates have been appreciative of the quality of the material that was presented to them in even booklet or printed format. Everything is clear. We have even a PowerPoint presentation of the resolution. This is the resolution, this is what was demanded, this is what we have done, and the percentage. Overall, we have succeeded by 84% of all the resolution together.
Okay. And what does that 84% mean in terms of achievements, in terms of what have you changed? Is it the inequality? Is it poverty reductions? Or what does it translate into the 84%?
In everything. That were resolution, for example, Secretary General of the SWAPO Party must be a full-time worker of the party. That was accomplished 100% because I lost my government job. Okay, that was a recommendation, for example, that late Andimba Toivo be a permanent member of the higher structure like this one. Unfortunately, he did not live to reach this Congress, but those were implemented. There are issues, for example, of health. This is what we do about children and maternity and so on. Those things you can never do them 100%.
But issues like unemployment and poverty, where you rated yourself to get 90%, and we know at the same time we live in one of the most, or the unemployment rate is about 30%.
There is a difference between eliminating unemployment.
But what is the 90% achievement mean?
The 90% means we obeyed the instructions of that resolution done by the Congress. We did not ignore it, we did not leave it, we tried to do what was possible or what was demanded.
College education, 78% was the outcome. What are some of the challenges there?
You know, the challenges there, we want really to train our young people in terms of preparing them for jobs, preparing them for vocational education, preparing for all the possibility that education is offering. There we have the challenges of pregnancies of young ladies who still need to go back to the school. We have certain communities where parents themselves are not really understanding the importance of the education of their own children. So there you can never have 100%.
Okay. Economic growth and income distribution, you have 100%. What is that indicative of?
Economic growth, I think, is certain. I don't want to be tied to certain figures. In terms of economy, it's like your kitchen. You cook, you eat, food is finished, you have to go and prepare food. The economy will always be a challenge. You can't really say that you have 100% in terms of your economic contribution. But it is a question of that demand, that resolution was implemented and was obeyed.
Okay, let's look at the one inner party governance. There you don't get the 100%. What are some of the challenges there?
Yeah, exactly where you have referred them to them already in terms of management of the structures, management of the headquarters, management of the district, management of the regions. And we always have problem because, you know, politicians are very strong-hearted people, strong-headed people. And each one is demanding that I demand Patrick obey this and do this. But it's the same thing I don't want to do. So there you cannot have 100%.
Generational transitions?
Generational transition, this is the thing we are talking about. We are transferring certain veterans, senior veterans, into a special category so that within the political bureau and the central committee, we create space for younger generations to come. And I can already predict that young people will be in the central committee. And out of the central committee, some of them will move up to the political bureau.
Okay. So again, given the last days, what's your sentiment that's been taking place? And how is the SWAPO party maturing in the way that it chooses to be the ruling party of this country?
No, I think we are a big enough party. And we have very capable people amongst us. We might not get along on every point, but we have a very, very strong people. And we have many, many young people. We have people from the SWAPO Party Women Council. We have Union, NUNW. We have a very, very strong body. So there is no fear of SWAPO becoming weaker. It is continue to be strong, and it will continue to participate in all elections in this country. And after this, we will have a chance to cool down, to remain calm, and make sure that all our structures are solid and in place.
Just to refer to the opening statement of the president when he said, there are those that claim that SWAPO has changed and it is no longer the party that it used to be. For those, I have the following to say. SWAPO has not changed, the world has changed, and in order not to be left behind, we have to change with the times while retaining our core values. What is that change?
No, you should have asked what are the core values. The change, we first remember when SWAPO was formed here in Windhoek, in the old location. That SWAPO of the workers, of the contract, basically contract labor workers, cannot possibly be the same SWAPO of those who left Namibia to go into exile. It can't be the SWAPO that prepare fighters to come back to Namibia. It can't be the SWAPO of 1966 when Nangolo Mbumba took place. It can't be the type of SWAPO that sent some of us to school, to universities abroad, and we came back and we became part of the leadership. It can't be the SWAPO of 89 when we came, when all the fighters, all those who were in leadership were told, take off your uniform, let us go to Namibia. Let us go under the protection of UNTAG, under the protection of the UN. Let us participate in the election. It can't be the SWAPO of 1990 on independence. Many people left the party structures, the party secretariat, and came to the government. They become now minister. They become now servant of everybody. It can't be also the SWAPO after Dr. Nuyoma left the presidency of the party and the country. It can't be the same SWAPO of Dr. Pohamba or Dr. Gainkob.
So what did you tell us what it can't be? What can it be? Or what must it be?
No, it must be. It must always renew itself. It must be getting stronger. It must learn. And it must be able to address all the challenges that are facing Namibia, a modern democratic country.
And so when we say in terms of the world and how you respond to that, you've mentioned a lot earlier on. What is it that you've achieved here at Congress so far?
We have achieved a lot. One, we have lived up to the requirement of the Congress, our Constitution, that every 5 years, after every 5 years, we must have a Congress. And tomorrow we will have voted for a new leadership. That's a demand of the SWAPO Party Constitution. In this Congress, we have discussed all issues. We have recognized the shortcomings. We show our readiness to face the challenges. So, and the unity of people, to have one person came from Tsunkwe, and she was trying to speak in her own mother tongue. And that is inclusivity, that a person from a small community, once she is a delegate, she is able to speak in her language, to express her own feelings and her own problems.
Okay. So when you talk about those values, and there is a position that we spoke about a little bit yesterday as well, and the president mentioned it in his opening remarks, of this supposed idea that people use political platforms to enrich themselves. Do you think that that is true or not, given the extent and the power of the SWAPO party?
There are challenges that are universal. One of them is you create an organization to benefit all members. And you will always find those who look for special positions and they end up benefiting more themselves. That's a challenge in America, it's a challenge in Britain, it's a challenge in China, it's a challenge everywhere. The most important thing is that if somebody does that, there must be a mechanism to call that person to order, including suspending him or expelling him from the party.
So, given that, how do you assure that your members remain with these core values that you speak about?
Very good. We have put up a Swapo Party school. We will continue to train our members, both leaders, those who we send to government, those who remain to manage the affairs of the party in all structures. That one we are ready to do, and we will continue to train and to send even our members abroad to learn from other countries, that you are not just a member of the party for the sake of being a member of the party. Your duty, our duty, is to develop our country, to develop our people, to inform our people of things that are needed in the world.
So obviously it's been the third day and we're going towards the end of it. Talk to us about tomorrow. How are these proceedings going to be taking place? When is the voting taking place? When is the announcements? What can the nation expect?
Once we conclude here today, and hopefully we will conclude today, to round up all the discussions, all the questions, all the debate, and I think we are doing very well. Tomorrow, we basically say we have reached the end of our term. Anyone with a title, member of the Central Committee, that title is suspended until you are voted again. We will have a returning officer. Basically, all the powers now rest with that returning officer. Of course, in line with our own constitution and in line with our own procedures of elections. So that he will explain things to us. We will follow exactly the instructions of that returning officer. We will vote out of politeness or out of protocol. Of course, we'll allow the president, the founding president, and the former president, the vice president, the prime minister, to vote first so that they can go wherever they have other duties. But after voting, we will wait until the announcement. And once the announcement are done, you will all be there to be informed.
Okay. The secret ballot, again, its importance.
No, the secret ballot is important, very, very important. It is only the returning officer who knows where they are being printed. Security will be provided for them to be protected. Transportation in terms of the type of cars and whatever will be assured. Party agents who represent the candidates will be there to follow. There will be no secrecy, but there will be confidence in terms of nothing should happen to those ballot papers. Nobody should interfere with them. Everything, every paper will be accounted for so that I know for sure, this is the person I voted for. Even if I'm the only one who voted for that person, I can say I voted for that person. If we are two, fine. If we are three, fine. If we are the majority, fine. If we are not the majority, it's also fine. But every vote must be counted to the candidate we intend to vote for.
As a final question, can you guarantee the nation of the election will be free and fair?
For sure. There is nothing to fear about that because it's not in the hands of a politician, it's in the hands of a legal officer who makes sure that every process, every step is taken in accordance with the law and nobody can challenge. If somebody finds that something is not working, they must raise at that point where the ballot papers are being produced, how they are being transported, how they are being distributed, to whom they are being distributed. Every delegate who has the right to vote is already listed. First, the candidates are known, and the voters are known. So there is no way you can vote twice or you can do anything, because everything will be checked, not by the returning officer, but by everybody who is part of that.
Okay. Nangolo Mbumba, thank you very much for making time out in your busy schedule for this interview.
Thank you very much.
Well, maybe there you have it. He is your SG of the SWAPO party, possibly for one more day. This time tomorrow we will have a top four that's different. But the big thing that's taking place at Congress is that 7 people have been included as permanent status, either into the Politburo or the Central Committee, 4 into the Politburo and the Central Committee, and 3 into the Central Committee as well. So I think that's what the big news that's coming out. It is acknowledgement that these people will be advisors to the party and that they will sustain the history of the party and kind of mentor whoever's coming into the party around these core values. Another interesting interview from here at the Safari Hotel and Conference Center. Until tomorrow, we'll be back, and I know you'll be watching because we will be telling you the election results. Stay tuned with NBC. Bye-bye.